Hello, friends. One of our Chavurah groups that formed this past year invited Zoe and me to come to their virtual gathering and respond to questions that they had for us. I love to do this with congregants. Ask the Rabbi is always an opportunity to both get to know members better and hear what's on their minds. I especially enjoy hearing questions that people seem to have been harboring for some time and have a great curiosity about. This group contained a number of newer members, and they were curious about the history of Beth Chaim, when it was formed, and stories about the early years of the congregation. Since one of my oldest and closest friends, Rabbi Michael Ziegler, was the first rabbi of Beth Chaim, I remember that time quite well. Beth Chaim was formed in 1978 by a group of about 25 couples, almost all of whom were retired and were between 65 and 75 years old. They were a really lovely group of people who cared for each other and were deeply involved in one another's lives. They socialized together. They rented a bus several times a year to travel to places like Reno and Tahoe together. They all happened to be Jewish, so they decided to form a small synagogue community together. Rabbi Michael served them part-time when they formed in the winter of 1978. A few years later, when he took on another part-time congregation in Vallejo, he needed someone to pick up one of the congregations on holidays and asked me to be that person. I think that what is most compelling about the early history of Beth Chaim is that the caring and the close connection of the original 25 couples and set a standard of connection that is part of the DNA of this community. In the Chavurah group last week, there were also some really good questions about the future of the community. I reported that the current board has so many strong, strategic thinkers and such a clear sense of priorities that I feel so optimistic about where we are going as a community. I also believe that in hiring Shelby Mayer Margolin, we have the dynamically creative leadership for our Beit Midrash, our religious school that we have been in search of for many years. We are so grateful to Grace Munoz for her amazing dedication in keeping our school program together for several years now. She has been so ably supported by Ellen Rosenbluth and Jeff Reitzis in taking care of our teachers and maintaining the quality of our program during this time of COVID. There were some other wonderful questions about Judaism that the Chavurah asked during our engaging time together. This made me think that I would love to use this forum, my weekly video log, to respond to questions from our community. So, if you have an area of concern, a nagging question about Judaism in general or any aspect of it, or even perhaps a question about our Beth Chaim practices in particular, I would welcome the opportunity to respond in my Tuesday recorded video post. I'd be delighted to name and honor the person who has asked the question of the week, or you can also request that I answer your question anonymously if you wish. I would be grateful to have this communication with our members and have this time be somewhat more of a dialogue. So I hope you'll send in your questions to my email, rabbidan@bethchaim.com. And if you do, please put question of the week in the message line. Yeah, it's I want to thank you in advance for any who take the time to send in a question. Thank you. Stay safe and be well. Shalom uvracha, peace and blessings.